Riot Games may be best known for League of Legends, their immensely popular MOBA, but now they can also tout Valorant, their first foray into the competitive first-person shooter genre. The game pits two teams of 5 players against each other in single-life matches of attack and defense. If you had to explain Valorant's concept to somebody, you'd probably instinctively say that it's Counter-Strike, but with heroes. And while that's pretty much the gist of it really, describing the game so simply isn't quite fair to the efforts Riot put into creating a fun shooter experience. Of course, there's no getting past it. The game's framework is clearly heavily influenced by Counter-Strike, and the way it plays is generally the same. Case in point, you begin each round in a buy phase that gives you a few seconds to purchase weapons and equipment, if you have the money of course, and victory is achieved either by planting the spike, which is the game's equivalent of the bomb, on one of the 2 bomb sites, or by defending both sites. Eliminating the other team entirely or defusing the spike are an additional method of achieving victory. Like Counter-Strike and many other attack and defense games of the genre, this is a one-life game. So if you go down, you're staying down until the next round begins. And this means that the game has to be played a little more strategically than other first-person shooters. And it isn't uncommon to see players checking every angle or holding positions for a long time and wait for enemies. But the biggest problem right now is that the game launched without a ranked mode, so more casual players are matched with highly competitive players, which can sometimes make for some very one-sided matches. And coupled with the genre's inherent single-life rounds, Valorant can become a very tedious game if you're matched with an uncoordinated team or put into a game against highly skilled players. This is made especially more frustrating due to the length of a match, which averages around 30 to 40 minutes, and means that if things go wrong and your team can't pull off a comeback, well, you're in for one long, disappointing ride. Sure, you're free to quit out of a game if you want, but you will be punished accordingly. And if you want to tough it out, but your teammates don't, well, matches aren't backfilled, meaning that you'll be at an even bigger disadvantage until the match ends. It's important to note that if you are disconnected from a game, or if you leave a game during the match, Valorant will try to reconnect you to it if it's still underway. Gameplay-wise, movement and gunplay are tight, and that goes a long way to making this game feel highly polished. If you were worried that Riot would have a hard time entering the FPS scene, well, you'll find that fear will quickly disappear. In my experience playing, if I lost a gunfight, it was generally because the other player was better prepared, better positioned, or had better accuracy than me. Not once did I feel cheated out of a kill. Frustrated that I died? Sure. Of course, even though the gameplay is reminiscent of Counter-Strike, Riot Games brings something else into the mix with the inclusion of named heroes and their abilities. As of this review, there are 11 agents in the game, and it would be impossible to describe or touch upon their abilities in just one video. But in short, each agent plays a different role in matches, such as Brimstone, a controller type who excels at area control and denial. The agents have a total of 4 abilities split into 3 categories. They're the basic abilities, 1 signature ability, and 1 ultimate. To use an ability, it needs to be charged, and while you get 1 free ability per round, others need to be purchased in the store, which is not unlike buying grenades in Counter-Strike. An agent's ultimate is a little different. It requires you to build up skill points, and these are accrued through kills, by picking up skill points on the map, and earned passively from round to round. And while your aim should always be on point and you'll need to learn the recoil patterns for each weapon you decide to use, you'll absolutely need to understand your agent's abilities, how they work to aid your team or yourself, and when to deploy them. For example, Brimstone's ultimate calls in a massive laser from an orbital cannon and acts as a terrific area denial tool. So if you want to buy some time and keep defenders off an armed bomb, try dropping Brimstone's ultimate on the bomb site. There is another game mode available. It's called Spike Rush, and it changes the dynamics and lowers the strategic requirements of the game by giving all attacking agents a spike, providing random loadouts, and fully charging basic and signature abilities. It also litters the map with power-ups like hyperspeed and damage boosts. Spike Rush is essentially Valorant without the commitment, since games generally last 10 to 15 minutes. Where Valorant doesn't shine is in the graphics department. Now this isn't necessarily a deal breaker, but it has to be mentioned. Valorant is meant to be a low-spec game that can work on older hardware, and there's nothing wrong with Riot wanting their game to be accessible and playable by people with vastly different levels of hardware, but it does mean that the game looks rather bland. There are 4 maps at launch, and they all look pretty much the same, and the only one that really stands out from the others is Haven, but that's only because it has 3 bomb sites. Which brings up another point. The whole game lacks character. The agents, while physically very different, don't have the same big and endearing personalities that you would find in other hero shooters such as Apex Legends or Overwatch. Not to mention that a lot of the weapons just look a lot alike unless you put a skin on them. If you're wondering whether you should give Valorant a try, well, it's free to play, so there's really no financial risk in trying it out if you're interested. It is a polished game, and knowing Riot, it'll receive immense long-term support and likely become a big name in the competitive gaming scene. But the bottom line is that Valorant doesn't bring anything new to the table, and while it's a fun game, it won't revolutionize the genre. If you're looking for a hero shooter with Counter-Strike gameplay, Valorant fills the role fine. But if you're used to playing games like Overwatch, or if you just like Counter-Strike but don't care for abilities, well, this isn't the game for you.